You can stare eternally at fire, water, and of course, people making crystal figures. Glass is a transparent, hard material that breaks or scratches easily. However, under the influence of high temperatures, it becomes a dense and flexible mass, which can be given a variety of shapes, even odd ones. The art of making glassware by processing molten glass is called glass blowing. The most common source material for these figures are glass granules. They're made by processing common glass. In general, the temperature of glass melting varies from 300 to 2500 degrees Celsius. The exact temperature value depends on the chemical composition of the glass, in other words, the presence of various additives. A special furnace is used to convert the glass into a viscous mass that can change shape. In this case, the material is heated to a temperature of 1380 to 1435 degrees Celsius. The individual components are then heated on an open fire, for example with a burner. Immediately after the glass comes out of the furnace, the master starts processing. You need to work quickly because the glass mass cools rapidly. With each second, it becomes more and more solid. To give the glass the desired shape, a variety of tools are used, such as scissors and tweezers. And of course, the most famous tool is a special tube for blowing glass. It should be noted that this work is quite dangerous. You have to work very carefully, as the risk of burning is extremely high. The final stage in the production of these figures is the fritting. The product is cooled for about 10 hours, however the figures are cooled in a special way. The glass is heated to a temperature of 530 to 580 degrees Celsius, and then cooled very slowly and evenly. If cooling is carried out quickly and unevenly, a residual stress will form in the glass. Over time, this will cause the figure to collapse on its own. Cakes can have incredibly different appearances, as there are countless techniques for decorating a cake. For example, the surface of this cake has been decorated with a composition of cream flowers. Each flower is made by hand, and then set in place. Note that no special tools are used with the exception of pastry bags. The whole secret lies in the skill of the hands and the experience of the pastry chef. In the case of this cake, the flowers are also created separately and not directly on the surface. To create them, whipped cream is used, dyed with pink, blue and lilac food coloring. First, a round base is created for the flower, and then, one after the other, the elongated and curved petals are placed. The roses in this case are made with a slightly different technology. The petals grow layer by layer in circular movements. The final stage of decorating the cake is to frame the composition with cream leaves and draw patterns on the sides. To make the surface of the cake smooth and create a beautiful mirror layer, it's first coated with fondant. It's a dense and flexible substance that's put on the cake, and then the excess edges are cut. Sometimes, to create the mirror glaze layer, the liquid glaze is poured directly onto the surface of the cake. In this case, the cake is painted with pastry paint. It may seem that the creation of complex metal engravings only takes a few seconds, but of course this video is a bit sped up. Here we see the work of a special engraving machine, designed to work with a variety of metals, including precious metals. Special software greatly simplifies this job. The user only needs to upload the necessary drawing, press a couple of buttons, and the machine starts working. By the way, the laser can be used to engrave not only metal. You can also use glass, wood, plastic, leather, and even various types of fabrics. The main feature of these lasers is the precision of the cut, calculated to the last millimeter. But in addition, the laser, while exposing the surface to an incredibly high temperature, does not leave burns. Well, now we'll show you a device for high-speed processing of aluminium and plastics. It's a digitally controlled milling and engraving machine. With the help of this equipment, the factories perform mechanical processing, creating aluminium profiles and complex sheet products. It's also capable of 2D and 3D engraving. Art has come a long way. It's constantly changing and acquiring new forms. That's why the brush is no longer the main tool of modern artists. Here you can see how a painting is created using ropes. The technique is somewhat similar to fluid art, when acrylic paint is allowed to flow freely through the canvas, creating whimsical patterns. The paint is mixed in equal proportions with a special paint conditioner called Floetrol. This substance improves the spreading capacity, and although water-based paint is used for these jobs, the conditioner gives similar properties to oil. In addition, it increases drying time, which means that more time can be spent on creating different patterns. This technique is quite simple and offers freedom of imagination. On the canvas, covered with paint of a single colour, threads are placed, previously dampened with a paint of a different colour. Then you can improvise. For example, by moving them on the canvas in different directions, leaving unusual traces. Or, as in this case, you can also move the canvas. This creates an even more interesting effect. The only drawback of this painting style are the drops that eventually cover the entire table surface. However, for real artists, this should not be a problem.